Be careful.
Yes, thank you. I am being careful.
Do you want me to do it?
No. In fact, I want you to sit there.
Your dad died?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
thanks. Your friend?
Yeah. We can figure this out.
There it is.
Alive or dead?
Dead? You caught a Blatella germanica, a cockroach.
That's it?
Yep. Do you want it back?
That means they're still in my apartment.
What?
The screw ones.
Nikki, welcome to AOL.
Thanks.
I'm so excited after seeing that clip. Is that from tonight's episode?
Yeah, and that's the first time I'm seeing it too. So
It looks like your character's a total badass.
yeah, she's really smart and she's really sassy.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Rochelle Dodier is her name.
Rochelle
right?
Dodier, yeah.
So tonight's episode is episode number 3.
Yes.
And you were not in episode 1.
No.
So I have not seen enough of you on this show yet. I'm really excited to hear about your involvement in it and to keep watching.
Yeah, my mom feels the same way. My mother's like, I watched the first episode. I didn't see you. And I was like, but I told you I wasn't going to be on it, Mom. She was like, well, I thought maybe they'd like you so much that they'd put you on it. And I was like, that's not the way this works.
Well, they liked you enough to cast you as as one of the leads, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited. BrainDead on CBS is created by the same team that did The Good Wife, which you starred in last season.
Yeah.
And what I love about this show is that it manages to have that same dramatic, smart appeal as The Good Wife, but it layers in this ridiculous humor that feels like it shouldn't quite fit, but it does. I think that's because of the acting.
Yeah, it's a really funny. It's one of those shows that before people were able to watch it, and you describe it to people, and they say like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Well, I'm doing this hour-long show on CBS about politics, and it's sort of like explaining why, you know." The two factions, like the Democrats and the Republicans, have become so far away from each other, but it also has aliens and bugs, and it's kind of funny, and I don't think anybody really could get it. And so we do these, try to explain it to people, and I really feel like BrainDead is just going to be one of those things that you'll say, oh, we're doing this TV show, it's kind of like BrainDead. You know, like I think it's groundbreaking enough and interesting and kind of fun enough that that it will become its own genre of television.
It's totally genre bending. The idea that you could take a show that is sort of as true to politics as something like The West Wing, and as dramatically sort of scintillating as The Good Wife, but also make it about bugs from space that crawl into people's ears and literally eat their brains. And then the brain like pops out of the guy's ear like a cartoon, and yet somehow it works.
Yeah.
It's
we hope. I'm so glad it's turned, because we're having a great time putting it together, and you know, obviously everyone knows I've done a lot of theater in my life, and so I've always been involved from the very beginning to the very end. And the one thing that's really kind of cool and terrifying about doing television is you shoot things, you work together, you work intimately, you make something that you think is cool, and then you don't ever get to see it for weeks and weeks and weeks.
How long ago did you film BrainDead?
Well, we're in the middle of filming right now, so we're shooting our 10th episode, but you guys are only seeing our 3rd episode. So, you know, like that stuff we shot in March. Like it's a very, like the arc of it is long. for a performer. It's really interesting, actually.
I definitely want to get into your theater stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But first, I just want to give a little warning about BrainDead. It might make you totally freaked out about regular black ants. This morning, I was walking around my neighborhood, and somebody had this beautiful lily growing, and I was like, oh, I love the way lilies smell. I put my nose up to it, and I saw black ants walking out of it, and I was like, they're going to eat my brain.
My friends have been tweeting me pictures of the bugs they're finding on the subways. Like, I have, like, an entire collection of just, like, photos of people being like, I can't look at any bug the same way. And in a really sort of, like, strange twist of, I haven't tweeted this photo yet, which I have every intention of doing. I was texting in Prospect Park yesterday. I was just, like, on my phone, and a bee just landed on my hand randomly and then didn't fly away for, like, 3 minutes. And I was like, are you in there? Like, are you gonna eat my brain? Are you like, it was a very strange experience.
It didn't freak you out to have a bee just sitting on your hand?
Well, isn't the rule with bees that, like, as long as you don't freak out, they won't sting you?
I guess.
So I just, like, chilled. He, like, crawled around. He, like, put his, like, little antennas on me. I was, like, blowing gently, like, but he just was, like, chilling. I got a great picture of it. I'll tweet it later.
Did you think about the story you told in your Tony speech?
Yes. I immediately thought about my bumblebee story.
Can you fill everybody in case they didn't memorize it like I did?
Right around the time, there's a myth about bumblebees, and when physicists were studying insect flight, they were studying bumblebees, and they figured out that they just couldn't figure out the mathematical equation that would prove that bumblebees can fly, mostly because their bodies are really big and their wings are really small. And so the joke for many, well, it's a science joke, so it's not actually very funny, was that bumblebees fly because nobody told them that they couldn't. And eventually, these physicists got much better cameras, and they were able to figure out, like, how they do it. But the truth of the matter is that even though they do fly, bumblebees, and we can see them do it, it's actually really difficult. It requires a lot of effort on their part, which is why they don't fly in a straight line. Like, they work really hard. And so in my family growing up, we always talked about bumblebees and the idea that the only obstacle between you and what you want is your imagination and your work ethic. And so when I told the story, when I won a Tony Award, I got on stage and I didn't write a speech because Laura Benanti was supposed to win, or at least in my mind, Laura Benanti was going to win. And so I got up there, and all I could think about was that I had been grateful that that was the story that my family told us. And it relates to another thing that was happening in my life, which at the time I had a young nephew who's now 6, who had been suffering from some medical problems, and that was the story of the bumblebee was a story we would tell him every single night before we went to sleep. So I'm like a bumblebee. So the bee had a lot of significance. It's like a brain dead thing, and then it also felt like the spirits or the universe, like letting me know that I was okay.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we're talking about your Tony Award-winning performance as Nambalungi in
well done.
Book of Mormon, thank you. I feel like I sort of slipped an M in there.
No, you didn't.
Nambalungi.
It's okay. Nobody gets it right anyway. It's
Even Josh Gad's character on stage couldn't get it right. One of the best performances in recent history on Broadway.
oh, thanks.
It's such a fantastic show. And obviously, you earned that Tony, no matter who you thought was supposed to win it. I was thinking this morning about how Mormon is as ubiquitous on Broadway now as Phantom or Chicago. It's just become one of those shows you expect will be running forever. But then I was remembering the controversy that surrounded it when the show was first coming to Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
And there was talk about whether there would be picketers outside or protests and whether there should be security. Can you take us back to early 2011 when you were getting ready to open that show?
Yeah, so the thing that was really incredible about the Book of Mormon was we kept it under wraps for a really long time. So we'd been working on it. By the time we'd opened, I had done I joined the production and started participating in readings in 2008. So it was a number of years before we opened. And our producers did this thing that I thought was really, really smart. The best way to experience the Book of Mormon was to be surprised by it. So we did not go out of town. We did not have any press. We'd never released any B-roll. No, you had to be in the room where it happens if you wanted to see it. And so we didn't have an idea or a gauge of how we were going to be received. And earlier that season, or earlier that year, Scottsboro Boys had opened, and they had had a number of protesters. And so our producers were totally nervous about how the world was going to take this. We were talking about religion. We were singing a song called F You God. You know, there was a lot of stuff. Then we just had no idea. So they put the fear of God in us. I wish you could have been at this meeting where they were like, we can't let anyone into the building unless they have these kind of identification cards, and we're monitoring the internet. And I was like, what's happening? We're actually just doing a play. Like, it's not the end of the world, is it? And so our very first preview, which you said you were there.
Yeah, my brother won the front row ticket lottery for the first preview of the Book of Mormon.
So do you remember that we had to restart the show?
Of course I do.
Because there was like this huge like explosion of like one of the monitors or the speakers or something.
Well, I didn't know it was a huge explosion. All I knew was that there was the voice of God. The stage manager came over and was like, we're going to need to hold.
Yeah.
And then they went back and started the whole show.
And we were all backstage being like, he really is pissed at us.
God.
Like, God is like, he's come down to smite us. It was like, we were like, and it happened that night and then another night. Like, the first, like, week of performances, we'd have, like, these really rocky starts. And then, obviously, it turned into what it turned into. But, you know, we had no idea. I'll never forget the first time we sang Hasadiga Ibuai.
Which translates to?
Fuck you, God. In front of an audience. And it was an audience of, like, people, like, all these people who were showing up to see this musical. And I swear to God, they didn't know if they should clap or not. You know, it was one of those things where, or laugh, where you just watch people check in with each other.
Exactly.
Like, is this okay? Is it okay? Like, should we clap? And so it ends like, F you, God, like middle fingers and all this. And then silence for what felt like hours, but it was probably only like 2 seconds, and then eruption into like, and that's when we knew we had them.
I remember that exact experience. I remember being like, "This is hilarious." Wait, does everyone sitting around me think this is hilarious? Because I don't want to be politically incorrect or whatever.
Of course.
But then all at once, I think after that pause that felt like years to you, we all. Yeah. I feel like we leapt to our feet.
Yeah, people got on board with it, and I think like one of the things that Mormon does is it allows us to laugh at the things that are actually like, you know, difficult for people to be comfortable talking about. I think that's the best part about comedy, is that you can sort of start the conversation about all kinds of things if you like make people think it's funny.
That's definitely the case with BrainDead.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a tumultuous political season right now, and this puts some laughs on some really real issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's the perfect way to describe what's happening in our government is that they have only half a brain.
I'm sure you can't answer this because it's probably a spoiler, but like going back to the show, some people's brains like fall out of their heads and they go on with their lives sort of in a zombie state, and other people's heads totally explode.
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, I can't tell you.
Yeah, we'll find out. I knew you were going to say that. That's another good opportunity to mention the fact that your character's father's was one of the first head exploders.
Yes.
And who plays your father?
In the Book of Mormon, yeah, Michael Potts. It was really funny because he got cast as my dad on this show, and then we didn't have any scenes together because his head exploded before I joined the cast. But before I joined the story, yeah, it's great. We actually Michael Potts and I, who remain dear friends, watched Game of Thrones together last night. So. We can't talk about it because there are people who, like, shockingly have not yet seen it. I don't understand.
I heard that it was good.
It's really good.
That it's like people are happy with it.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
What other kind of media are you consuming now? Do you watch a lot of TV?
I used to watch so much television, and now I have this like I'm paralyzed by choice. So I've been doing things like watching old episodes of Murder, She Wrote instead of watching anything new, because I just can't. I'm like, well, I don't know. Like, should I start The Affair? I hear that's amazing, but then like, oh my God, like then there's Americans, and like there's too much, and so I just get so nervous about it that I just watch like Murder, She Wrote and old episodes of Law and Order. It's like that's like. Yeah, but I'm like watching The Housewives, obviously.
Obviously.
And I'm listening to a lot of. I've become like addicted to podcasts.
Which are your favorites?
Oh my God! So, I like Radiolab, and I like This American Life, and I like Invisibilia, and I like Planet Money, and I listen to 99% Invisible. And so now I'm that asshole who will give you like random facts about things that I'd only know this much about. Like, oh, did you know that when they were building the Brooklyn Bridge, they had to like put these people under the ground for 8 hours at a time? And you're just like, why do you know that? And like, I don't actually know it. Like, I only know a little bit. So like, if you ask me a follow-up question, I was like, you have to Wikipedia that. I don't know. It wasn't part of the story.
What about theater?
I just saw Taming of the Shrew, Shakespeare in the Park. I saw that on Saturday night. It was fantastic. Obviously, I've seen Hamilton a couple of times. I actually did, in 2012 or 13, Lin Miranda had come to see the Book of Mormon, and he said, listen, I'm writing this new musical. I hear your voice, will you come and like sing some songs with us? And I was, oh yeah, sure. So it was like Lynn, myself, Chris Jackson, Alex Lacamoire, Tommy Kail, and like a handful of other people. And so I was like one of the first people to hear some of the early songs from of Hamilton. So I always feel like I have like a little piece of that too.
What part did you sing?
I sang Eliza.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
Well, they have not announced a replacement for Philippa Sue yet. Have you thought about going in?
It's not me, unless it is. Wouldn't that be amazing? If they've just been holding out. No, it's not me. It's crazy because now it's turned into something. Obviously, I was a part of it at such an early point in its sort of evolution, and I remember calling my manager, and she was like, well, what are you doing today that you can't go to X audition for, Walmart? And I was like, well, I'm doing this thing for my friend Lynn. And what is it? Oh, he's working on a rap musical about Alexander Hamilton. She's like, well, that doesn't sound good. It's like, he doesn't sound like it would be good, but it's actually really effing amazing.
At this point, I think everyone's like, yeah, of course it was amazing. It was always going to be amazing.
Isn't it funny how people get on board with things like way after the fact, and you just want to be like, I was there in the beginning.
Well, I think that some people have to see it to believe it,
Yeah.
and that's what makes really groundbreaking art.
It's like the first person who ever ate an oyster, right? All of his friends were like, that is going to be disgusting, dude. Do not eat that. And he's like, oh, I'm telling you. And now everyone's like into it. Groundbreaking.
All right, so you've got BrainDead on CBS.
Yeah, Monday nights at 10. That's today, right?
Yes.
Oh my gosh. You guys have to go home and watch it.
When
Watch episodes 1 and 2 so you can get caught up.
When I do interviews, I like to binge watch all of someone's past work.
Oh.
And so I was settling in to binge watch BrainDead. It was 2 episodes, and I was like, no! Now I'm hooked.
Oh, please. It gets really, really great. It's got all the things you want. It's like wacky, it's funny, it's a little bit gross, it's a little bit shocking, it's suspenseful.
And for someone like me who is, spoiler alert, I'm a huge Broadway nerd, the cast is filled with people that we know from the stage. Aaron Tveit and Jan Maxwell.
Oh my gosh, and more
Megan
and more
Hilty
come.
And
Yeah.
Beth Malone. Not to mention, Hollywood stars like Mary Elizabeth Winstead and Tony Shalhoub and Danny Pino. I mean, the cast is so fantastic. And I want to come back again to just the idea that what sounds like a ridiculous premise is really easy to buy into when you suspend disbelief because the acting performances are so solid.
Yeah, it's really I think from the way I see it is every single person who's working on this show is really operating at the top of their game right now, and I think, we are all rising to the occasion that Robert and Michelle have set out for us. And I love that it's brave. I love that network television is doing something that doesn't look exactly like everything else you've seen. I like that the cast is really diverse. Mm-hmm. I think we're telling a really, 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 really unique story in a really fun way. Yeah. And every episode starts with a little song.
Right, yeah, the previously on song.
Yeah,
That's the
great.
other ridiculous part, is I'm like, what am I watching right now? But I kind of already want a CD of those previously on songs.
They're really good. The artist is named Jonathan Colton. He's fantastic.
I think doesn't he have a song in the SpongeBob musical that's coming out? Mm-hmm. It's all connected.
And he's on this like NPR show that I listen to as well.
What's the vibe like on the set of BrainDead? Is it different than The Good Wife? I know a lot of the same players are involved, but I wonder whether the comedy element makes it a little more fun.
Yeah, I think so. I think well, we get to be outside a lot more often too. So we're in, the thing about BrainDead is Good Wife was we're all shooting in like a similar location. I think it's really fun for the crew. We get to go down to DC. We're working outside the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Memorial and outside the Senate building. It's been really, really great. And obviously, it's really funny to do a comedy when you're working on a television, is because if anybody laughs, they ruin the take. And so you'll hear, like, as soon as they call cut, and then, like, tittering laughter from all the other departments. It's really great. If you can make those, like, IATSE crew guys laugh, then you're really nailing your life.
Well,
They've seen it all.
Right. We're going to take some questions from the audience.
Sure.
But first, I just want to give you an opportunity. Is there anything else you've got coming up that you want to promote? I know everyone should be following you on Twitter and Instagram. Nikki M. James.
Follow me, Nikki M. James, on Twitter and Instagram. I don't know what's coming up. I think there's like a few things that may take me back to the stage for a little while, but I can't say anything about it.
Do you think you would ever go back to Book of Mormon, like to just step in? Into that role?
I'll tell you a really good story. So I was in London vacationing. I was on vacation in London. I got an email from one of our producers, and they said, "So I hear you're in London." And I thought, like, do I have a GPS attached to me someplace? Like, how did they know where I was? She was like, "So anyway, we're having a little bit of a situation where the girl who's playing Nabalungi is really sick, and both of the understudies are out on, like, leave." And I was like, "Are you asking me if I would do a one night only on the West End?" She's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Well, if you need me, I'm available." And then I immediately got in the shower and I was like, I don't know that I could still sing it. So it ended up not happening, but I had this moment where I thought I could actually just like do one performance on the West End of Nabalungi. It would kick ass. I would totally do it again if they had me. I don't know that I could fit into those costumes anymore, but I would love to do it. I miss it every day. Yeah, they're my family.
I love the theater so much. I'm obsessed with that story.
It's really weird.
Let's take some questions from the audience.
Sure.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Pleasure of you to be here.
Oh, thanks.
So, what advice would you give to the younger Nikki that's trying to pursue a career?
Oh, to myself?
Yes.
Well, or to someone like me?
Yeah.
I think the only thing I always say is that that no is not really an answer that you should settle for, ever. And that I think that that's in all careers. I think that people, you know your heart and you know yourself more than anyone in the world. And everyone is going to tell you about all the things you can't do, and only you know the things that they can't even conceive of you accomplishing in life. So you take a no, you accept it, you take a breath, brush it off, and then move on. That's what I would say, I think. Another one? Oh, hi.
Hi. Thanks for being here.
Sure.
Which political figure in real life would you like to see guest star on BrainDead?
Ooh. Obviously Donald Trump. I mean, he's fascinating and terrifying, and he would be great on the show. I think he'd be great on the show. Luckily we get to have like little snippets of him every once in a while, but I would love to have him join us for a day.
That's another thing I like about this show, is that it takes place in the real world.
Yeah.
Like with the real political figures that sort of figure into the story.
It was cool because when we were shooting, we were a little bit behind, so we'd have to use dummy lines, because when we were shooting some of the stuff that you're seeing now, like Ted Cruz hadn't left the race yet, so there would be lines about what we think might be happening that they have to that they now fill in with what's like instead of Cruz and Trump and all this kind of stuff. It's been really cool to watch how quickly the political world is changing and how we have to sort of catch up with them. It's been neat.
Cool. Do we have another question?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Thanks for coming. Quick question.
Yeah.
So most of your background really is theater. What would you say was like the most challenging for you to go into the medium of, TV?
Oh gosh. Honestly, not being afraid of the camera. Like it's a really strange experience to know that your performance is being taken by this machine and then will be edited years down. I miss audiences. I miss people laughing and clapping and breathing and the energy that comes from. And the other thing I've really had to adjust to is not eating something from the craft service table every single time I walk past it. Because as a theater actor, you're just like, you cannot pass up free food. We don't get paid enough money to live in this city. And
Not
so,
to mention the fact that you're burning like 1 million calories in a
and
musical
so like
every time.
now like in this TV, there's always like M&Ms there, which is like my favorite. And I'm like, well, I mean, like, don't eat those M&Ms. You're gonna be here for 14 hours today, and it's like 6:30 a.m. You do not need M&Ms. But then there's the other party who's like, take the M&Ms, just put them in your purse. Because at some point they're gonna realize that they should that I'm like not meant to be here, that I'm like some kind of imposter, and they're gonna kick me out, and at least I'll have a kind bar, It's really embarrassing. Everyone else eats vegetables. I'm like having all the Oreos I could fit in my mouth.
Hey, Nikki. So I have a big fear of bugs. Were there any gross out moments or scary, like creepy moments on set?
On BrainDead?
Yeah.
It's
Do you have real bugs? Are those real bugs?
No, it's so weird. They're just little white dots on the floor, and the bugs come later. But I had to, there was a scene that involves some kind of romance and salami. So I don't want to say anything more than that.
But it grossed you out.
Yeah, it was horrible. It was gross.
Well, I can't wait for that episode. Mm-hmm. BrainDead, Monday nights on
tonight
CBS.
at 10.
And you're going to be coming back to the stage in some form or another at some point.
Yeah, later or in early fall. Yeah.
Ooh.
It'll be a short run thing, but I'm excited about it.
Oh, I'm excited too. And I assume we can get all of the updates as soon as there's real tangible information available on your Twitter and Instagram at
Yes,
Nikki M. James.
please follow me. You know what's great about me? I basically tweet Snapchat because I'm terrible at proofreading. So I always tweet something and then read it back and realize that it's completely unintelligible and then delete it. So if you follow me, you'll get to see all of my misspellings and and then it'll just disappear.
Well, I love it. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm really thrilled about this new TV show. I can't wait to see you back on stage.
Thanks.
Thank you, Nikki James, for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.